Manchester United, this is a subject I wasn't expecting to speak about today, but the pundits on Sky, the pundits on TalkSport, the pundits on ESPN, and journalists are all pushing this narrative today that Manchester United, after not beating Southampton, will fall outside the top four. What's your thoughts on that, Sav? Man United to fall out the top four. Do you think that's on the cards?
No, I can't see it. I don't think there's enough consistency from the teams behind, to be honest. Newcastle, I don't know. I mean, they draw a lot. Brighton, I think that they're just lacking. Spurs, I won't talk about my own team yet. I think you've got enough. Right? This is what happens. We spoke about this last week, Terry, but I think the defeat against Liverpool has kind of dramatised Man United more than it actually is, the situation. If it hadn't have been a 7-0, if it had been a 1-0 defeat, I don't think anyone's going in raptures like they are the last week. So I fully expect you to make it. I think you've got a game in hand. And I expect you to get that and another trophy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was a little shocked to see it this morning, the kind of talk about I know that Casemiro is going to be missing for 4 games, as put out here by this comment. He's going to miss 4 after his red card, which we will get into. But at the same time, the same pundits keep saying that he's not even that good. You know, he's kind of a steady Eddie. Is he really that good for Man United? Suddenly he's missing for 4 games and that's it. The season's going to fall off. Like, what do you think, Patty? Like, you're only 2 points behind United. Yes, we have a game in hand, but it's more, United are sort of 8 points or so ahead of 5th place. Can you see United sort of, getting 9 less points than the Liverpools and the Newcastles in the last 11 games or so?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I said it a while ago that I'm looking to, a lot of Tottenham fans were saying that 4th place. And I was like, why not 3rd? And obviously with you lot kind of stuttering at the moment and with a lot of games on the cards in terms of Europa and still the FA Cup, I don't see why Tottenham can't go for 3rd. But for you to fall out of the top 4, no, I can't see that. Like Sav was saying, you still got a game in hand. You've been in decent form, not the best, but you've been in decent form. 4 games out for Casemiro, who a lot of people would say is your most important player. That is a big loss. But Fred has looked good when he's come in recently. And McTominay, he is a steady Eddie. He is the definition of a steady Eddie, not a Casemiro. So I think you'll be all right. I do think the top 4 now will be the top 4. Obviously, I'm not sure what order it will be in, but I don't see, like Savage said, Newcastle are a bit too inconsistent. Their form isn't good as well. I looked at it. And Liverpool, everyone was eulogising about them last week, and then we see how inconsistent they are, losing to then bottom of the league, Bournemouth, and then obviously, yes, and as well, let's not forget, even though Liverpool had a great result against you guys, they're 5-2 down against Real Madrid, and that could be a cricket score come, midweek. So I'm not sure about Liverpool, if I'm being honest either.
Listen, I wouldn't write Liverpool off. United are definitely, look, if we go in our next 2 Premier League games, we don't win the vote, then we're dragged in completely into this race. I won't beat about the bush. But look, the game at the weekend, it's one of those hard ones. We were creating the chances. We were the better team. We were breaking them down. They were a bottom of the table side that were fighting for their lives from the first whistle. We had 2 or 3 one-on-one opportunities, some chances we should have scored, but just United were following a pattern and it was comfortable. And then Casemiro sent off. And that isn't the controversy where I think United were robbed, by the way. He deserved to be sent off. It was unlucky. His ball rolled over the ball and it hit the shin. But it is what it is. It's a red card. I can accept that. I can't call all the other shin-high challenges that weren't reds this year red cards and then defend this one. I'm not a hypocrite. It was the rest of the game that threw me. 3 stonewall penalties, in my opinion. 2 that I actually heard a journalist today say, well, the player tried not to handball it because he was moving. That's why his arm was moving out the way. And it's okay. But it hit his arm, though, right? Yes. So if he's trying to move his arm because he knows it's going to be handball, but it hits his arm, it's handball. The Rashford one is the craziest. I didn't even see it in real time. And everybody's saying, yeah, Terry, but it's taken slow motion to see there was contact. Therefore, it can't be a penalty. And I'm sitting there and thinking, but that's the whole point of VAR, is so you can slow things down and look at them from multiple angles, just like they did Liverpool's handball at the weekend. Liverpool's handball was a stonewall penalty. Stonewall. And I don't even think he meant to do it, but it was still a penalty because his arm stopped the ball going in the back of the net. But they checked it, multiple angles, sent the ref to the side. the Premier League has got to go back, in my opinion, to sending the refs to that monitor far more regularly. It's become a joke since Howard Webb's taken over, and not just against Man United. It's damaged all of our teams at some point this season. And in the last 2 months, the amount of decisions they've got wrong. Yesterday, Nick Pope staying on the pitch. And that's why I couldn't believe I was seeing Liverpool fans and Tottenham fans laughing at United, only for that decision an hour later to potentially impact both your teams in your race for the Champions League. Because if Pope is sent off and a penalty is given, maybe Newcastle don't win that game. And I think for me, yesterday, there was a lot of robberies going on in those 2 matches. We've seen Arsenal this season, not given 4 handballs in a game, lines not drawn on offsides. The level of refereeing is become a joke. So that's why I was a little bit embarrassed for the broadcasters today. To barely any focus on Man United's penalties. No real talk about them. No independent videos made and published. It was all United will collapse. United will fall away. United have got problems. Ignoring the fact that we just slapped up a team in 5th place that Real Madrid couldn't score against a few weeks ago in the Europa League a few nights ago. And if we had 11 men against Southampton, we 110% win. They did very well to get a point against us in that situation. But Man United fans ain't panicking. A few of the outrage.
100%.
Yeah, man, in my opinion, if we carried on with 11 men on that pitch in that game, I believe we would have gone on to beat them. I know Liverpool lost, Sonny, with 11v11 against the team at the bottom, but we were dominating them. We were opening them up, and we still created some clear-cut chances, and great saves from their goalkeeper stopped us from taking the lead in that game. And for me, it was an unlucky game. Like, we weren't at our best. We weren't scintillating or anything like that, but I think we would have beaten them. But the referees, for me, and I very rarely blame referees, probably 3 or 4 games this season. This one I get for United. There was Chelsea-Tottenham at the beginning of the season. Arsenal-Brentford as an example, where you just look at it and think the level of mistake was so catastrophic, it has to be discussed. And, of course, Wolves versus Newcastle yesterday, 2 in 1 day, was crazy. But I'm not worried about falling outside the top 4. Maybe losing 3rd place. But listen, we come 3rd or 4th. It's pretty much the same damn thing in terms of qualification. And I'd rather come 4th and win 2 more trophies than come 3rd and no more trophies personally. But yeah, I thought it was a bit of a joke today to see Man United suddenly written off by all these pundits. It was a bit weird for me personally.
I mean, I have a different question around United, Tel, especially it kind of piggybacks off what you've said and what Patrick alluded to about, potentially eyeing up 3rd for Tottenham. So I don't know whether that's because you just think Tottenham can do it, or do you think because Casemiro is now going to be out for 4 games, that's your opportunity to pounce? And then off of that, I've been seeing online recently and a few quite popular, sports broadcasters and online personalities say they're starting to think Casemiro is a liability. Is that something that you would agree with, Tel?
Well, so what I would say to that is this. If he's a liability, then him being missing for 4 games ain't a bad thing. And that's my question to these broadcasters and why. Listen, I'd like to be on some of those shows just because they pay well. I'm not going to lie, right? I'm no ashamed in saying that. But they need Man United fans on these platforms that will clap back with proper questions. The Man United fans I see on these channels sit there and take it up the proverbial the whole time on these shows. That would be my argument, and I would ruin them. So 1 minute we're going to die because Casemiro's gone. 5 minutes later, he's a liability. It can't. Those 2 things cannot exist in the universe.
Oh, they can.
At the same time. How can he be a liability and cost us games, but also be pivotal to us winning games? Explain, Sonny.
We have to explain, because you never know what's going through Casemiro's mind. It's the fact that it's unexpected. Casemiro is obviously one of the best midfielders in the world. No one's saying he's not. But you never know when he's going to do something stupid like he done on the weekend. And at that point, in a big game, even in a game like that when it's not so big, it can cost you, as it did. 2 points lost. He's now out for 4 games, which means he can't do that. However, you never know when it's going to happen. That's my point. He might be playing great, which is obviously helping you. So then when he does something stupid like that, it's gone.
So if someone's a liability, that means you wouldn't have him in your team regularly, right? You drop.
I never said he's just a liability. I said he's both.
So he's a liability. But why would you want a liability in your team? Why would you want someone at any moment that could cost you?
Because
points?
You have that much quality. It's as simple as that. When he is playing on the pitch, he is amazing. However, also when he's playing on the pitch, he will do something stupid like that over the weekend and then get banned.
You know what else? You know what I'll say about this though? Like, he's not a liability, but he has that odd moment of like rashness that a lot of DMs and really good defenders have. And I think like at one point, Thomas Partey was getting like red cards and, was silly and doing dumb stuff. And his decisions did make it hard for you to back him all the time, but he was better than anything else that we had. And when he was on it, he was amazing. And I think that's what people are saying. They're taking it too far. A liability, that is just way too far. But obviously you want somebody that's not, suspended for as much time as Casemiro is. And so you'd want him to nip that stuff because he's so important to your team that, you need him more often than not. The word liability is wrong, but I think the sentiment of like he makes those decisions sometimes and it costs you is right.
So I understand that. The hands around the neck thing was a travesty because, again, they looked at a very small snippet of that video. They saw the bit of him grabbing him. They didn't look at it before where another player grabbed the Man United player, and they didn't look at it for the next 20 seconds after where Casemiro and the player both have hold of each other, then stop, then hug and go, I know you were just trying to calm me down. It wasn't a fight. It should never have been a red card. This was an unlucky tackle. His foot rolled over the ball. Up until this point in his whole career, the man ain't never been sent off. This is the first 2 red cards in his entire career. Looking at what he did, I don't know before Real Madrid, but at Real Madrid, the man never got sent off. And up until this point, he's just been a little bit unlucky. And I agree, Jess, the word liability is taking it too far because a liability you never want in your team, and Casemiro we want. But when I look at our next 4 games, one will be at home against Fulham in the FA Cup, tough game. The one I'm worried about is away at Newcastle after the international break without him, because Newcastle at Stamford Bridge is difficult. The next 2 games after that, home to Brentford, home to Everton. I think by then, Sabitzer should be back. You've got Fred and McTominay. We are good enough to beat those 2 teams at home. Why? Because we've beaten them before without Casemiro in our team at Old Trafford. So even when I look at the league, let's say we lose to Newcastle, but then win those next 2 games, I'm still confident of making the top 4. So from my standpoint, I think it's very hyperbolic from the media to suddenly start writing Man United off at this point, personally. But look,
isn't it sensationalism? I mean, it's everything's a famine or a feast, and it doesn't have to be both, right? It can just be, listen, he's made a mistake. He's got himself sent off. Was Vieira a liability for Arsenal? The bloke was sent off all the time, but was one of the best midfielders in the world. I don't think it needs to always have these kind of hyped up headlines associated every time a footballer does something right or wrong. For me, he is your best player. He's been absolutely superb this year. He is not a liability at all. But I do think you've got the games you just said you've got there. I think you've got the players to cover that. I don't see any issues for Man United. I don't.
The only ones that I'll say is like looking at the games is just like you said, Newcastle, Brentford can be tricky. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah,
that's a good team.
I'm not writing these games off. As in, like, we're definitely going to win.
I'm not saying you are.
I just need to interject because I'm not one of these United fans who's going to be like, yep, at home to those teams, easy. Brentford's a hard game. My point is we beat them last season at home without Casemiro. So am I panicking about playing them at home this year without him? No, but we've still got to be at our best. We've got to be at our best to win our next 4 games. You have to be at your best to win any game in the Premier League. But again, I agree with you 100%, Sav. There is just this overreaction to Man United losing. But by the way, if Rashford would have got that rightful penalty and would have scored it, the airways would not be full of Casemiro as a liability today, or United are going to lose the next 4 games. All you'd be hearing is United giving dubious penalty again. Are they paying referees? But at least yesterday proves to the Liverpool fans that say we pay referees that we don't, because otherwise
that ended with Fergie, love. Of course, you don't pay them anymore. Obviously,
every time we win, we're paying refs, and then days like that happen, and people look really silly. But look, I was annoyed with yesterday. I'm annoyed today still. I'm annoyed at the referees more than I am. A lot of United fans I saw the outrageaholics focusing again on the performance, and we weren't at our best. At the same time, it's like, were you watching the game up until that point? We were opening them up. We were playing well. I was quite relaxed watching the game. And then that red card happened and it was different. And we still had the best chances after that. We still had the better up. But they had one good shot. They actually had a better chance before they went down to 10 men. Theo Walcott on the break from a header. He should have scored. Good save from De Gea. They had one breakaway with Walcott, which Martinez handled easily, put him onto his left foot. His shot was weak. And then Kyle Walker-Peters had a great shot that hit the post. But outside of that, like, they didn't do anything. So, maybe we should have beaten them with down to 10 men. But, we move on from here and we keep moving. But I think the exaggeration that we're going to fall away is crazy. We've got some super chats.